So how's it going, folks? Anyways, so on the last video, we kind of went through the house and some of the stuff that that we thought was going to need to be done to bring it up to up to standards. When I had originally looked at this home, I hadn't realized that there was so much structural issues with it, and that's always a challenge, because you come into a project like this and things aren't, certain things aren't always necessarily evident until you sort of get into, actually getting your hands dirty and getting into the things. And one of the major issues was that the house was racked over in both directions. And so it needed to be straightened out. And it was racked over in a significant way where when new windows and cabinets would be installed, it would be very noticeable. So this issue was brought up to the clients, and they actually understood the concept of what we were proposing to do by bringing the building back to plumb again, going both directions, in addition to the trusses as well actually having a tendency to collapse because there was no truss actually, the gables, I should say. Probably due to snow loads or just wind loads, or just the weight of the roof itself has had a tendency over the years to kind of push down on the gables. And actually their solution to the fix was to add some 2x4s periodically down this center wall, which was never designed to have that sort of weight put on it. And it stopped effectively the collapse of the gables, but then it transferred all this weight onto the wall, and then which actually caused another situation by pushing down on this wall, harder than what this wall was designed for. And so now we have about a 2-inch drop in the floor down the center length of the building itself. Now the house underneath has got some issues. The foundation, it's dirty and it's ugly, but the perimeter of the foundation, so far as I can see, looks good. The center of the foundation, I think once we get the stress off of the gables, can be jacked up and blocks put under it to keep it, to keep it where it needs to be. And then as far as the gables, we've been attaching these cables with turnbuckles to actually draw it back in. If you look at some of the tails, you can actually see where the bottom cord and the of the gable and the ceiling have actually sheared, and you can see the nail is actually at an angle, where that process has been taking place. And so the idea is to bring the gables back together, and which will, I'm sure the walls are actually being pushed out as well, as a result of the gables collapsing. And so what we'll do is, after these cables are put on with the turnbuckles, we'll tighten the turnbuckles. And I've got a few of the cables on already, as you guys can see here. And so what I'll wind up doing is I'll pull those in under tension. And the idea is to get the the gable to pick itself up to the point where all the weight is off of this wall. And once we're accomplished that, I'll build at least 3 trusses along the center line of this building, and that'll keep any future problems. And the cables will all stay in place as well, and that'll keep any future tendencies for this to collapse at bay, if you will. And then to solve the problem of the walls, we've also added cables internally, and I've got some external cables that we've put on the walls as well to brack the building over. Although it, interestingly enough, lengthwise the building moved very easily, but the narrower part of the building is not moving at all. And so after some head scratching, we've come up with the conclusion, and you can actually see it on the wall itself, where this little addition on the side is actually holding back the building from moving back to plumb. And it's my contention that the addition has actually pulled the building out of plumb as it's begun to sink into the ground. And so originally we were going to jack that addition up and to bring the house back to plumb, as well as, you know, the cables that we have. We have cables, we have come-alongs, we have ratchet straps, we have 2x4 braces. You know, we couldn't seem to get it to move, and so so this building has to either be, the addition has to either be disconnected or it has to be jacked up. And, you know, jacking it up was kind of out of the question after we started digging into it, and we realized that the foundation underneath the addition is completely gone. And so it's one of those situations where, you know, one thing leads to another, that leads to another, that leads to another, and you just keep getting deeper down in these rabbit holes. But eventually you get to the point where you reach the end and you can start actually making headway. And I think we're at that point. We've yet to give a price for the rebuilding of the addition. It was suggested that we just rebuild the entire addition because it was substandard to start with. This, according to the owner, she's told me that her husband had put this on some years ago, and it was like a kit, like a little, like in a, you know, something that you would buy from like a Sears catalog back in the day. But Sears didn't sell this. It was some other company that was actually advertising these as being, you know, something really great. But the roof itself is actually so weak that the roofers couldn't walk on it. And this was by design. This wasn't, you know, over decay over the years, but you know, it's just too flimsy of a structure. And with some other issues with the walls bowing out, you'll notice along the window sill there is quite a bit of damage as well. And you can see that because one side of the window is much thicker than the other. And the whole thing is just kind of a disaster. And you know, after speaking with the owner, you know, we're still in the process of negotiation, but she's of the opinion as well that this probably needs to be taken down and rebuilt. I mean, she does like it there. The daughter has expressed some interest in perhaps making it a walk-in closet, which I think would be really awesome. We could change where the door's at now and put another door in the far bedroom, and or maybe even split it down the middle, make a walk-in closet on one side and a pantry on the other that's, you know, accessible through the dining here. And so lots of possibilities if you know, if it was to be rebuilt. And that's what we're going to push for is to have this thing rebuilt. And but it, you know, if all else fails, what has to be done before the building comes back into plumb is that addition has to be at the very least disconnected from the rest of the building, so we can right it and plumb it up so we can continue to put the windows in and get all these cables and braces off the walls. The internal cables we're going to leave to keep things, and then once all the mechanical goes in, once all of the insulation, this is all getting core bonded. That's one of the decisions that we've made because they're 2x4 walls, and because of the climate here, you know, it's so extreme and so cold, you know, and then it can get hot in the summer. We just feel like core bond is really the answer for a 2x4 wall, just to tighten the whole house up and make it very well insulated and very comfortable. And so, but after all that's done, then at least, you know, one of these narrow walls is going to be, we're going to put sheathing on it, and that will lock it in place and not allow the house to move anymore. And then we have to make the addition of another shear wall going in this direction to keep the house from racking. And the roof ties that all in. The roof has been plywooded at some point in the past, and so the shear of the roof line makes the whole house move as one structure. So it really only takes one shear wall in both directions to lock the house and to stabilize it, so where in future down the road, you know, the clients will never have to worry about the house moving ever again out of plumb. And so it's been an interesting project. And we've had the plumbers here, we've had the HVAC guys here, and they've both have begun to work on it and do some things. You know, they're basically waiting on me now to get the rest of my framing done and the rest of my, you know, the windows in and stuff. And so we're trying to push for that as well. But yeah, this is an update, just kind of let you guys know what the latest is on this building, and hopefully we can really start to work full time on this project and get some of these things done. Now, in the meantime, we've gotten hat channel that we've put over the ceiling. Now, originally I was going to go with 2x4s. I wanted to go 2x4s, but the price of lumber is outrageous, and there really wasn't the budget. Really wasn't in the budget to put 2x4s on the ceilings with the cost of lumber now. Although that would have been a lot easier to do. But the hat channel was sort of a compromise. But what it's done was it's allowed me to be able to give me a straight line, if you will, that I can shim and adjust. And so when the ceiling goes in, it'll be nice and straight, and it'll make for a better looking ceiling whenever all things are said and done. And so, yeah, so that's the update. And thanks for watching, guys. And be sure and hit that subscribe button and give a thumbs up if you guys would like to, you know, support my channel. So thanks a lot. What are these little hands for? There's these little handprints everywhere.
I know, I see them.
Do you see them?
I do. Those are raccoon.
No, that.
Well, that's probably from the plumber.
Nobody's got that little hands.